You know, I woke up this morning and said to myself, golly gee, D-Mod, you know what this channel is lacking? Boss content. Well, today is my lucky day. Hello everybody and welcome to Boss Breakdown, where I break down bosses. Yes, it is that simple. I've ranked many a game's entire roster of bosses. Dark Souls, Cup Souls, Bug Souls, Blood Souls, those games featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry Souls, Overwatch. But you know what? Sometimes bosses are extra special and need more than a brief segment in a ranking to let their full splendor shine like a celestial emissary spell to the face. Oh yes, special goes both ways, which means anyone can be on the menu. Be sure to suggest to me in the comments which boss you'd like to see me crack open like a how-to basic masterpiece. But if the idea of a Blue Goober breakdown tickled your fancy, today is your lucky day. Because I also thought to myself that I need to make more of my own masterpieces like this. Moonlight Butter. Huh, it doesn't fly. The lovely folks at Amino have sponsored me once again to make more buttertastic content using their robust new story feature. Scrolling through their Discover page, you'll find tons of interesting stories that are snappy, fun-sized content bursts that are more akin to full productions and candid moments. I partnered with Amino to create a few stories of my own, specifically today a bite-sized boss breakdown of the Celestial Emissary. After the video, click the link in the description or the pinned comment to download Amino for free. There you'll be able to find my stories by searching for the Democracy within the app. Be sure to follow me over there for some smaller bonus content between videos. Just like with YouTube, anytime you watch one of my stories it supports me, so I appreciate you giving my breakdown of our favorite jelly beans a look. Now back to our favorite horse. God, what a weird game. I gotta say though, even though you'll never catch me going to sleep without my Lady Maria body pillow, bosses outside of Blood Souls need love too. That's right, when are you gonna do a boss breakdown of the best boss ever made in any video game ever, the Great Mighty Pooh? In due time, unbiased observer, in due time. Without further ado, let's get started with our breakdown of Ludwig the Accursed and Holy Blade from Miyazaki's own gothic horror masterpiece, Bloodborne. In Bloodborne, boss fights often have little more present story context than a cutscene preceding the fight. Instead of most characters being developed through direct interactions throughout the game leading to the eventual throwdowns, you'll often hear stories in passing. So when you come face to face with one, it carries a lot of weight. One such story is the tale of the first Healing Church hunter, Ludwig. The Beast Plague was originally handled by Gehrman and his disciples in secret. This required them to have great skill and finesse, which is why Gehrman's hunter tools lean more toward a sleek design. Once the plague became too large to go unnoticed, however, Ludwig entered the stage with his new creations, such as his sword and rifle. Both weapons were designed to tackle the church's expectations of larger and more terrifying beasts being created. Originally, Ludwig led his knights, the Holy Blade, out on hunts, but as the Beast Plague grew, the Healing Church enlisted citizens to wield brutish weapons like the Kirkhammer. This is because they required no skill like Gehrman's tools, and with a bit of strength could smash beasts even in the hands of a novice. Now here's where I'll offer some of my own speculation on Ludwig to help bridge the gap between his time as a hunter and our fight in the Nightmare. I believe Ludwig felt immense pressure to resolve the plague. At some point his hand was forced by the church when his holy blades weren't getting results and innocent citizens were coerced into hunting. If Ludwig prided himself on anything, it was his sense of honor. How could he stay true to his ideals if he led lambs to the slaughter? Those lambs being the people he was trying to save by hunting in the first place. Conflicted, Ludwig sought answers in the labyrinths below Yharnam. It was there that he found his answer, in the guidance of a Carol rune. As stated by the rune's description, within the void of Ludwig's mind, he began seeing tiny beings of light. These brought Ludwig comfort and began to assuage his fears of straying from his ideals. With the rune, he found a weapon, the Holy Moonlight Blade. With his guiding moonlight, he returned to the hunt with an invigorated spirit that led to a bloodthirsty genocide on the streets of Yharnam. Whether it was beasts, unskilled citizens dying under his command, or even innocent lives that were taken under suspicion of infection, Ludwig showed no mercy. I believe this slowly chipped away at his sanity, pulling him further away from his chivalrous ideals, while the seductive call of the guiding moonlight put him at ease enough to continue. This let the bloodlust go on as the hunter fell deeper and deeper into madness, with the bloodlust eventually pulling him into the hunter's nightmare for an eternal hunt. By the time we find him, he's lost all sense of himself, relegated to a feral beast seeking to slay anything in its path. In the ensuing battle, you knock an unsuspecting sword from his back. As Ludwig basks in the glow of the sword charged by the arcane power of the Great Ones, he gains a sudden, unnerving composure.
You were at my side all along. My true mentor. My guiding moonlight.
From here on out, Ludwig uses the power of the sword to duke it out with you. If you claim victory, you get a chance to speak with him afterward. The dialogue that follows all but confirms his descent into madness as a result of the rune. If him trying to convince you that he didn't fall victim to its allure doesn't drive it home, his maniacal neighing will. If you slap on Gascoigne's shirt or any other church garb, he'll take you for a church hunter and ask you if his holy blades kept their honor. You've got two options. Tell him what he wants to hear or tell him the truth. Fuck it.
Oh my. Just as I feared. Then a beast-possessed degenerate was I, as my detractors made eminently clear. Does the nightmare never end?
To me, this dialogue further reinforces that he is aware of his treachery on some level, but his awareness of it drives him mad without taking a hit from the old rune. If you say yes, he'll talk up the good Moonlight some more and be at peace with the thought of his compatriots keeping their honor where he did not. The tragedy of Ludwig is that he had good intentions, but ultimately was used as a tool of the church and a puppet of the Great Ones. He ended up a deranged butcher that strayed far from the ideals he originally held dear. His story is a good juxtaposition for the player to look at themselves and how they've handled their own time in Yharnam. And all this characterization adds great significance to a fight with extraordinary mechanics. Fighting Ludwig is one doozy of a battle. Giant beast bosses are difficult to properly tune for a game that emphasizes heavy melee combat. With the necessity to get up close and personal to do damage outside of a few niche builds, you'll have to tango with melee strikes from a monster 10 times your size. This means attacks that have 10 times the range and size of your blows. That can be damn hard to program, but I have to say, shitboxes in Ludwig's fight are pretty rare. And of course, Bloodborne rewards heavy aggression, and Ludwig is no different. He has many different body parts that can be damaged for a stun, like each of his hind legs, and if you smack his head enough, it'll even burst open and allow for a riposte. Even if you can manage to use these stuns to your advantage, you still have to balance between Ludwig's many different attacks. According to the wiki, Ludwig has a total of 15 different possible moves in his first phase alone. Dealing with each of them requires something different from you. Some slashes move aggressively forward, allowing you the ability to use invincibility frames to quick step into him and punish. This rewards expert timing and allows you to keep the aggression on. And frankly, with his range, hitbox size, and closing speed, running away is likely to get you killed. Due to that, skilled dodging is a must. The catch is, it's not always as simple as stepping inward. Sometimes he'll do a double slash and move backward. It has a very short tail and is a deliberate trap for players that get lulled into dodging forward. Of course, he can also disengage by jumping in the air so high you're forced to run straight away or be crushed by his magnitude. This move has another great reward though by letting you turn and smack the head if you have good timing. If you run away too much, he'll vomit either in a sweeping spray or focus blast. He also loves to charge. It has a decent tell, but the timing is very precise on the dodge, and if you miss it, the counter hit is enough to one-shot even higher vitality builds. Now you might be saying, why not smack that booty? Well, for one, you might get horsey kicked, and two, Ludwig consistently shifts back towards squaring up with you if you aren't facing him directly. This can again be used to your advantage to hit his head with the right timing, but you're liable to be attacked immediately after, so be ready to dodge if you take on that risk. You might also think it would be good to stay under him, but he has wild stomps and swipes that keep that from being viable unless your dodges are flawless. Saying these things one after the other might make them all sound manageable, but in real time it's a whole different beast. Ludwig is one of the only massive beast bosses that rivals the humanoid bosses in terms of consistent, fast-paced attacks with little to no downtime in between. This makes reacting to all the different possibilities quite the challenge while also trying to slice him down. Speaking of slicing down, phase 2 is arguably more challenging to handle than the first. His range is disgusting. His sword can hit you at what feels like a quarter of the arena away, so you might think running away is your best bet. No, because you need to get up close to attack, and he has multiple ranged attacks, including firing magic rays at you and charging you from across the damn arena. It's horrifying. But honestly, I often do run away just because dealing with his slams up close can be brutal. The tells on his swings have nice variety, but they happen with such a small gap between the tell and the hit that often you're dodging as a reaction to the movement and not reading him. Once you get it down, it can be realistic to manipulate his slams for booty smacks, and he is susceptible to stuns and riposts. He also does large magic AoEs that have huge tells, the second of which gives you a ton of time to punish if you get behind him with very generous timing. But again, putting that all together is a tough proposition when you consider his range, attack speed, combos, size, and endgame damage. And it isn't just me that thinks so. When I was doing research on the wiki, the most recent comment on Ludwig's page is from this poor soul. You are actually f***ing stupid. Almost every f***ing attack this piece of shit absolutely terribly designed boss for single player hits you directly underneath of him. He never gives you time to blood vial after taking damage. He is the most aggressive boss in the entire game. His moveset is too long range and wide swinging to be even remotely fair. He hits every combo at least once, whether you dodge left, right, forwards, back into the attack, or away from it. It is so terribly designed that it ruins the whole game. His health isn't bad, it's a boss. It's the fact that you cannot get enough attacks in without dying because he is constantly up your ass it dry without any lube. There are plenty of windows to get 1 or 2 attacks in, but he closes it, beats the out of you, and now you've wasted all your valuable time on this earth because you're back at square one. No one plays this game anymore, so co-op isn't an option. And the AI is so stupid, it's a waste of insight, time, and increases the difficulty by giving him even more health. Your guide is outdated and no longer relevant because this boss is broken beyond tolerance and this whole game is dead.
Get good!
And I'll help you do it. First, a disclaimer. The beauty of Bloodborne is that anything works. If you have a fist and enough determination, by God, you can disembowel your enemies. This is merely one great strategy. First off, get the saw spear. Yeah, it's beige. You want to smash things with your giant hammer, I hear you. But unlike the Kirk hammer, this thing is serrated, meaning bonus damage to beasts. Even further, unlike the saw cleaver, it's serrated in both of its forms. Second, blood gems. I'm sure you want me to expand, and I will, but first I want to hear you say it with me. Blood gems are the real eldritch truth. You want damage? Blood gems. My guiding moonlight? Blood gems. Mikolash memeing you while sounding like a wailing orgasming banshee? Blood gems. They give you so much more damage to play with that our sad player could go from shouting f to doing the f***ing. And I'll show you right now where to find the best easily before him. First, right before the one reborn. Go into the side building around the spitters and don't get hugged by the limb wolf. Boom. Second, in pig fisting paradise up before wet nurse, take a break from going arm deep to grab this shiny. Boom. Third, go down this elevator and jump out like the badass bold boy you are and go give the winter lanterns the business. Think they're bad? Parry those suckers with the right timing and use the riposte to negate all that frenzy damage. Or run past like a coward and grab the last gem. Boom! All easy to access before the DLC and even plenty of the game's optional bosses, and it increases your damage dramatically. If you really want to min-max Prior without going through the Chalice dungeons, you can even farm those winter lanterns if you're brave enough for 19% gems. Look at the damage difference. Fighting Ludwig without gems. Fighting Ludwig with gems. What's that? You want more damage? I got you. Roll some paper onto your weapon for some bonus sparks or flames. What, you want more? Well, then it's time to eat it and beat it. I'm serious. Okay, but really though, if you want to tear through Ludwig like tissue paper, use all the aforementioned items with beast blood pellets to destroy his health. I'll let the fight playing in the background speak for itself. Why bother worrying about any strategy when you've got stone cold damage? Of course, you'll still need to be able to dodge effectively, but you drastically reduce the margin for error when you can beat him down. And don't forget to use his limbs and face in phase 1 to keep him stunned. In phase 2, you'll do so much damage with a full meter that you'll likely stun lock him to death. It's pretty hilarious. You might think that I'm over level 2, but unless you consider this magical number to be too much for the DLC, then I'd say I'm right on target. The thing is, I rarely use this strategy myself unless I'm looking for an easier way to blow through here. When you add up all the lore for his character, the phenomenal music that hits cues perfectly to maximize the hype as his transformation happens, the excitement of seeing Miyazaki's calling card in action is a big reveal, the difficulty mixed in with the magnificent design, the phases that showcase one of the best oversized bosses FromSoft has ever managed, plus a night-style fight with a horse of the same stature, it all creates a boss that is in a league of excellence few can ever hope to reach. To give him a rank that ranges from a perfect score of S all the way down to F-, I'm giving my first boss breakdown feature the perfect S rating, for quality at least. Difficulty is not quite of the same caliber, but he's no slouch. I'll give him a B+ for challenge. But of course, I wasn't alone in sharing my thoughts on Ludwig. Last week I polled all of you and nearly 3,000 people answered the call. My thought is that over time, both you and I can give individual difficulty and quality ranks to bosses to create a great overarching ranking across many different games. So how did Ludwig fare in the eyes of the people? For quality, I'm happy to say as the bias bitch that I am that Ludwig knocked it out of the park with an average ranking of 9.14 out of 10. That's an excellent score, but his difficulty rank wasn't far off either, nabbing an 8.11 out of 10. Clearly, from both my perspective and yours, this was a fantastic boss to kick things off with, which turns the question to, who's next? That's right, I'm making at least partially good on my boss ranking of OOT by doing a feature on Ganondorf and Ganon from Ocarina of Time. I know they could be considered 2 fights, but I look at them as more of a 2-phase deal that is separated by a bit of castle crashing. To cast your vote, check the description for the poll, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already to see the video results. With this being a new series, please give a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, check out my other new series, the Top 100 Games of All Time. I want to thank you all for watching today, much love to you, and I'll see you in the next video.